Hi everyone, this is Arlen Roth. I'm here to teach you some slide guitar today. This is for Sam Ash Music, and I'm glad to be here and thank them for having me. And this is an old cheap harmony that somebody put a lap steel pickup, an Oahu lap steel pickup in for a little bit more of a slide tone. And you don't absolutely have to have that, but I kind of like it. And I picked up on this when I was doing the movie Crossroads with Ralph Macchio and Ry Cooder, because Cooder was using one of these. And it's very simple. I mean, you have a combination of a few different pickups, but when you're talking about slide guitar, there's a very physical difference to playing slide guitar than regular guitar. Now, one of the things that helps me is I recommend using a heavy brass slide like this, okay? The reason the heaviness is good, not only for the tone, because it does give you a better tone, but also the fact that it is now, I like it for the length so that the pinky can sense it at the end, so you know where you're going with the slide, that you don't have all this excess slide to have to deal with. And the truth is that when you have a heavier slide, lower action can work for you. Everybody thinks that you have to raise your action high for slide. It's good to have medium to high action, but this way the slide can carry itself. I'm barely pressing down. If you had a thin glass slide or a thin metal slide, like chrome or one of those ones that they sell, you'd have to press down too hard, and then you'd invariably get some fret noise from that, which you want to avoid. So you want the slide to go over the strings as a nice clean plane of playing, okay? So even if I'm down here, I'm able to isolate the strings and not buzz too much. Of course, with slide playing, you're going to get a certain degree of funkiness anyway, and that's kind of a little bit desirable. But what I've done here is my favorite tuning for slide guitar, which is open E tuning, which means that the guitar, which is up to E, is actually tuned like this E chord. So the notes we have are high E. Now the G is up to G sharp. See, so right away that makes a chord. An E major chord. Now we have our next E, which is from the D string. The A string is tuned up to B. And then we have our original low E. So there's our E chord. You can hear it, the harmonics. So even if you're the world's worst slide player at this point and you just want to play some chords, you're there. It's like playing a bar chord. You have a full 6-string chord going from E to E, just like you would if you were playing an E-form bar chord. What's good about that is when you start to substitute and play slide licks in this tuning, you can visualize what it was like on the guitar beforehand. And that's why I really like people to know the guitar fairly well before they play slide. That way they can see how the notes come together. For example, if I were going to play this blues scale, this closed blues scale, going from the high E to the low E, if I played that in standard tuning, it would take almost 8 frets to do that. Now we're doing it really just on 2 frets. And we just have that one note, that major third, on the 9th fret of the A string. So another thing that you notice, and you will be having a problem with, is getting the notes clean, okay? In the beginning, everything's going to kind of mash together. Like that. And you say, well, how is it that you can get the notes clean? Well, say, for example, I want just the B string to ring. Right away, this thumb is really the big damping and muting tool. And then the high E string is muted out with the ring finger. Now, I just do that naturally. I didn't know how to do this. I never took lessons. I wrote my first slide book when I was 19. But I just knew that if I just want that one string, that's what you have to do because you're dealing with a metal object on your finger. So as I walked down, these fingers are working in groups of 3, and the thumb allows the string one at a time as they're introduced. Now the B is introduced. Time for the G, D string, A, finally low E. Still with my fingers, still in groups of 3. That enables me to mute with my thumb and also mute with the fingers that just played those strings, okay? So if you want some basic licks, for example, if I'm going to just play the top 3, and then I stop the bottom 2 of that run with my thumb. If I don't want to do it, I just let them ring. And they are a chord, so it's not so bad. Try the next 3. Next 3. And if you notice, I'm moving the slide just as much as I need it. If I'm just going to play these top 2 strings, I'm going to really try to play just with the edge of that slide and not add a lot of problems. Now there's the famous Dust My Broom lick by Robert Johnson and later on Elmore James. He's introducing these to, and then he introduces the G string. The thumb moves out of the way. 5th fret. Vibrato, very important. B. So what's happening there, I was doing a little bit of a constant bass, which when you do that, your thumb is now having to do that and isn't so easy to rely on for blocking and damping. So you have to be careful. I'm landing on the A string. And of course, when you're playing slide, what you're aiming for is right over the metal bar. I know a lot of you, we play guitar back here, but that doesn't mean that the slide is there. The slide has to be directly over the fret. And so if you want a good vibrato, some students come into me and they're like, I'm like, did somebody turn on the spring? And like you exploded when you walked in. You have to be very, very subtle with your vibrato, and it's kind of an even up and down move. So the average of going above and going below the note creates the note. And I've recorded things that are really extreme where I deliberately overdo that. As long as the average is right in the middle, you're going to get the perception of the note that you want. And just like a voice, start clean, and then give it vibrato. So again, that open E tuning, here's our box pattern for blues. Notice there's a slide there. Pick, pick, slide. Now slide up. The reason I like the sliding is it gives you understand where the licks come from. You know, if you want to be like the Allman Brothers, you know right away where that kind of whipping motion happens. Only with the help of the thumb, blocking and damping, will you get that. And now just for the open tuning, the open position, I'll give you that blues scale as well. But we're going to work on this much more later. We're going to be covering a lot of slide material, and we're going to be going through different tunings as well. This is E tuning, which I really recommend first before standard tuning. Standard tuning gets a little bit hard to do because you have to jump around like crazy. There aren't many chord positions that you can play cleanly with the slide. So here would be our open E blues scale, starting on the 5th fret of the B string. Notice that some of those strings, those notes, could be open strings as well. That could be the open B. Open D, which could also be here. Open B. So there you have it. And I know a lot of you probably play with a pick. Try to do this with your fingers, because finger picking is the only way you're going to really get better as a slide player, and where you could do the proper damping and blocking and muting. So Arlen Roth signing off. I hope you like this slide lesson. See you out there again. Take care.